On today's edition of the show, we will try to capture the impact of one of Africa's giants. And as his birthday is commemorated around the world by millions, we will also try to see how we can capture the uncommon exploits of this African giant, Reverend Dr. Chris Oyakhilome, also known as Pastor Chris. Join us again after the break on The Agenda.
Now on StarTimes Channel 465 is your #1 Christian and lifestyle channel, Love World Plus, meeting all your entertainment needs. Trending, dedications, joyride, celebrity lounge, video tales, and so much more. For those of you who love current affairs, we've got you covered. News focus, strictly politics, the agenda, u.gov, and so on. Be sure to always be in the know with our informative programs, as we also get you settled with amazing documentaries like A Day in Your Neighborhood, Discover Africa. These will blow your mind. The youths and kids are not left out, as we have created a platform for them to speak, learn, and have fun. And to crown it all, we serve fresh, hot, and sizzling foods to feed your spirit, soul, and body. That is Pastor's programs. There's never a dull moment with us. So make it a date on Channel 465 as we take you on a smooth journey to cater to all your needs. Love World Plus, Channel 465 on StarTimes.
Many people long for success. They desire to do something with their lives, to make a difference in society, to become famous, or to become great. We all have the want to move from ordinary to extraordinary, to make the leap from good to great, to turn the seed of greatness that is in us into a fruitful field, and to fulfill the call of God upon our lives. From Reverend Dr. Chris Oyakhilome comes this new and riveting book, The Power of Your Mind. Do you want to do something extraordinary with your life? See, God has given you an excellent tool to use in your journey of greatness. It is called your mind. Learn how to walk in divine excellence through the power of a renewed mind. Get your copy of The Power of Your Mind today.
It's great to have you join us on The Agenda once again, and my name is Henry Williams. And today on the show, we will attempt to capture some of the uncommon exploits of a phenomenon on the African scene, a giant or colossus, as you like it. His name is Reverend Dr. Chris Oyakhilome. And as the world, millions around the world, mark his birthday, it does give us an opportunity to glean from the experiences garnered by so many about this man whose passion and drive for the eradication of poverty and human development is unrivaled. But before we go into the show, don't forget you can watch us on the go at www.loveworldplus.tv or log on to Channel 465 on StarTimes. And now to start the show, we'll bring you this report which talks more about this phenomenon, talking about celebrating a global icon. And we will be right back. Africa is home to a third of the world's mineral resources, but most of its citizens remain in abject poverty and do not receive the benefits of their Commonwealth due to the dearth of exemplary leadership. However, one man has emerged on the scene, taking on a messianic persona and not in the political class or private sector. In a class by himself, he is Reverend Dr. Chris Oyakhilome, President of Global Ministry, the Love World Incorporated, also known as Christ Embassy.
The reason I'm here at this time is because something special is about to happen in your country. Your nation is about to witness a new beginning.
Known around the world as Pastor Chris, his insatiable drive for human development and eradication of poverty has seen him spearhead countless initiatives that have brought circa to millions around the world. The Future Africa Leaders Foundation, Africa for Africa Foundation, Trauma Care International, the Inner City Missions for Children are just to mention a few of offshoots of the Chris Oyakhilome Foundation, bringing circa to millions across the continent and around the world.
This recognition is to let them know that what they're doing is worth doing and it's got a future. Because we're aware that around the world there's so many young people who think the future is hopeless, but it's not hopeless. The future belongs to you if you prepare for it. And that's why we do this.
It's a very wonderful occasion for us in the Trauma Care International Foundation. We actually started out in 2012 as an inspiration of our dear man of God, Pastor Chris. And the man of God talked to us about the importance of caring for trauma victims in the society, and that actually gave birth to the Trauma Care International Foundation.
You know, there are things that touch my heart because, the man of God has said, and he has taught me that success, the principle of success is looking out for a need and meeting it. So as I looked around my country, I saw that there were some things that really need to be solved. So I went out as a problem solver.
Through this global influencer and anointed man of God, Africa, the once called Dark Continent, is receiving the ever-brilliant light of Pastor Chris. As Pastor Chris marks another year of blazing the trail as the answer to the cries of many, on the 7th of December, the International Day of Service sees millions around the world involved in one act of service to mankind or another, in honor of Reverend Dr. Chris Oyakhilome, Africa's gift to the world.
All right, and that report actually doesn't do justice to the personality, but does set the pace for our discussion today on the agenda. And joining me today is Dr. Lanre Shonekan, a serial entrepreneur. And I want to say thank you very much, Dr. Lanre, for coming in.
Thank you, Henry. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, so, fate gives us that opportunity to be here to reflect and to actually look into this phenomenon, the man of God, also known as Pastor Chris. His impact, we will try to actually restrain ourselves, within Africa, because we are talking about a man whose impact is borderless.
Yeah.
What are the feelings that that swell up inside you?
Well, I want to thank you very much for this great opportunity, and this is a great privilege for me as a person, because I'm a recipient of some of these direct impactation that has transformed me as an individual, to become what I am. The man of God, Pastor Chris, is a man that tends to give your life a meaning. I want to take it from the perception, because we are looking at a global influence at this time. Yeah. Personally, if you listen to him a long time enough, your life will be transformed. And I can see the impact, the passion, beyond just to be a minister. There's a passion to impact and influence our world, our community. And from some of the various harms, the various NGOs that were seen within the ministry itself, look at the inner city. This is a specialized outreach arm that is out there looking out to those less privileged. We have a lot of cases that people who are traumatized, who had been abused, those who had lost hope, they are orphans, and they are there dumped all around. And there's a man that had to look into the future of those children and go out of his way to establish, give their life a meaning, both in terms of education, in terms of their daily affairs. And it's a central global plan. I've seen some of these projects across Africa as a nation. Look at...
With so much poverty pervading, he hasn't stopped at where many of us in the past have in terms of criticizing the government of the day and not actually being part of the solution. You know, that statement that is attributed to the man of God, Pastor Chris, resonates, which he says that every child is your child.
Yeah. You see, the impact of the influence of what he does, it's out of passion. It's really out of passion, because it takes a man with passion that I would desire to make a change. You see, we don't need to blame the government all the time. What we should ask ourselves, what are we doing? And you can see that the man of God, Pastor Chris, has gone beyond. Look at what is happening at the various the various camps where we have the refugees. Of recent, I learned that an arm of the ministry, you know, had to go there to take care of the refugees. And they had a lot of complaints. They've been abandoned. These are meant to be, we'll say it's government.
Especially in the IDP camps, yes.
Definitely. You know, so we can see the impact. There was there's this other issue, I think, is in one of the African countries where the Oyakilo, Pastor Chris Oyakilome's foundation had to go in. The whole of that particular community was wiped out.
We're talking in South Sudan, where there's been
now.
conflict for over 2 years now.
So you can see it goes beyond just you're trying to say a man of God, church setting. No, it's an influence. It's an impact, you know, to the society as a large. And what he's also doing is also to raise people, to give them hope. Now, most of the youth have been neglected. We just watched the clip of the youth...
the Future African Leaders Foundation.
Here is a man that goes across African nation, identifying, looking at men, the young ones, what they are doing within their community. And what he's doing, empowering them
yeah,
to do much more. We've seen a lot of testimonies when we get to hear what they're doing. There was a lady from South Africa that we were told that as a result of participating in this project, was able to take those who were in the streets, who were into drugs, those who were already abused, and single-handedly, about 8,000 of these people were taken care of. Shelter were provided. I mean, what more can you do? And this has a result of impact and influence from a man of God.
It's plain to see that the ministry of Pastor Chris transcends the church. Definitely. It goes beyond the spiritual circle. There is also the physical aspect. Yeah. And this is the doctrine of the man of God, that as Christians, we must also impact our world, you know, positively. We must play a critical role. And one of those roles is in nation building.
Yeah.
The man of God is strong on nation building. He's strong on making, impacting nations with excellence. So how has that, you know, touched you?
Yes,
in his
you know,
ministry?
I came in contact with the man of God in 2000 as a young, I finished my university 1997, University of Jos, and I was opportune to be in Christ Embassy. I stayed with MTN. And let me tell you this sincerely, so many meetings I've attended. I can remember 2005, I was in the Haven. And here I had the man of God saying, what are you all doing in Lagos? Lagos is congested. There are so many opportunities out there. There are lands, vast of land everywhere. And it clicked on me. And it dawned on me that there's opportunity for me. That's how I went to real estate.
Really?
I just took that word. And I started outside. And as of today, I have over 21 estates.
Wow.
It didn't end there. A time came, the man of God said that you should have a global vision. You should have a global vision. When you have whatever you're doing, Try to not be contained with your environment. Look at the larger vision. He said, those outside there, when they come in here, they buy business. When we go there, we work. And I said, that's another opportunity. I had to take my business globally because of that one word. I'm in UK, I'm in South Africa right now, and this is the impact of the man of God. And we're doing great things. If you know, we've been impacted through excellent in all that we do. And I want to use this opportunity also to thank Pastor Chris. Sir, you have a lot of influence. You have helped so many of us. Today, we are what we are as a result of some of these things that we have learned. You know, so I can tell you that every day, every moment, there's something that is influencing us, the Rhapsody of Reality. When we read it, it gives us an opportunity. And for those who are watching out there, I think this man is beyond an author. And one of the best-selling books, there are so many things that when you get opportunity hub and you read the content, is beyond depth. And this will open you up to so many things.
Dr. Lanre, you know,
Yes.
it is interesting that you talk about the man of God's literary exposes. You know, it's foreign to literary works. But before we do that, I want to tell our viewers that the phone lines will be open any time from now. And if you've been touched by the ministry of this African giant, of this man, Pastor Chris, let's hear some of your testimonies, some of your experiences on the African scene. We're not just talking about somebody who is restricted even to the church alone. His impact, his touching lives, goes beyond, far beyond the borders of the church. We've talked about pastors' books being adapted or actually adopted into the curriculum of schools.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen in schools in countries like Power of Your Mind, in schools like Ghana. This is remarkable.
Really, really remarkable. You see, one thing is that our educational system is tailored to the academics, the experience of entrepreneurship, where people are raised to hone rather than to work for. And it all starts with your concepts of your mind and how you think. We've been, in the wall of the school is there to tell us when you do one of these courses, you come out and then you become a professional within those ASIs, and then you're going to look for a job. And the entrepreneurship aspect of where your mind is opened, that you can own the job. And that's one of the things I think is lacking. And so the power of your mind, written by the greatest author, Reverend Dr. Chris, is beyond just a book. It is an inspired, power-packed, it's anointed. You see, the leaflets of every chapters, they are written in such a way that if you pick it, if you pick that book and you open up your mind to it, when you're done, you're a changed person because you'll begin to think differently. You'll see opportunities. You'll be able to understand the volumes of the depth of the mind, what you can do, what you can accomplish beyond just the word I can't do syndrome.
And one of the ailments of that predominantly pervades in Africa is mental poverty.
Definitely.
And the message of the man of God has gone a long way to be an antidote to that.
Definitely.
Empowering minds of Africans and letting them know that and not only can they do more, even with the limitations around them, they can surmount that. Let's look at nation building. How has the message of the man of God to you impacted that in helping, build nations?
Yeah, you can. You see, I used to travel those days for a lot of conferences. I belong to a lot of international bodies, and and I go there in and out. You pay very big, huge sums of dollars and all that to attend conferences. I want to tell you, after some years, when I started attending some of the specific programs, and I can't forget when we were told about the present, the past, and the future. That was one of those meetings, very long time, when Pastor was talking about the new age, the internet age, what is going to happen? Why is, using the social media, all these platforms as tools, and even for business. He was talking about business that will be outdated. They're going to the past. And I just sat back and used some of those concepts into my business. And I can tell you, I was far ahead of those who are within the same sector.
Wow.
And, people ask me a lot of questions. I own 10 companies. That's the Lashon Group. How would you manage the real estate sector?
Wait, why is it uncommon that those who sit under the tutelage of this man, Pastor Chris, are not, when they go after a dream, they're not restricted to one dream. There is expansion. I didn't know you were a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I just believe that, I think the doctrine of the doctrine
Definitely. You see,
of the ministry does a lot to make you audacious in your pursuit and your endeavors.
There's a common saying, we all know it, that you are the product of the many meetings you attend. See, the knowledge and the impactations. You see, when your mind is opened, there's nothing you cannot attain. When you have information, when you have the right, not just information, the right information, man, it makes things so easy for us.
Dr. Lanre, I think I'll give you a breather. I want to share, take you down memory lane. Let's take you to some years back, talking about Zimbabwe, when the man of God made some prophetic utterances that actually has set Zimbabwe on a different trajectory, an upward one at that. And he says, your nation will experience. Find out more. Let's take a look from courtesy of Love World News. I'll be right back.
We're having a worship time and communion today. And then I also have in mind to join you in prayer for your country. The reason I'm here at this time is because something special is about to happen in your country. Your nation is about to witness a new beginning. And the Lord sent me for that purpose. I'd like you to understand you've got a lot to be grateful for in Zimbabwe. You have a lot to be thankful for. Your nation is probably one of the most, if not the most, educated societies in Africa. It is
All right, due to time, we couldn't take all that, our video, but we got the message.
Definitely.
About 6 months down the line, in November that year, to 2017, I think, there was a government change.
Definitely.
President Nanangagwa came in, and the former president of Robert Mugabe, peacefully stepped down. It wasn't a coup. There was no bloodletting. That is the attributant, experience on the African scene. I mean, after 37 years, having a stranglehold on that country, he,
Yes, you see, the word of prophecies, when a prophet speaks, is foretelling, and he has information that is originating from God. How do you know a prophet is when the word comes to pass? I can tell you, there's so many words that have gone forth, not just Zimbabwe to these nations. There are various nations that words have gone to. We've seen them. When the man of God gives directions and gives specifications, it's happened. So we're not surprised, for that change, because that's the power of God. You see, what we could not attain with the physical, because when you have the word from the servant of God, the word goes to work. He said it. This is what happened to the nation. They are the best in the world in terms of empowerment in manpower and all that. He mentioned those things, and they're already coming to pass. We're seeing a lot of transformation right now in that nation. And one thing that I have come to learn about this man of God is his prayer life, which gives him the direction. When we started praying with him, he gave an opportunity for the prayer with him, on Mondays, on Wednesdays, and on Friday.
The prayer pascal.
Yes. So I have not for one time where the prayer point is directed to him of his ministry. We are either praying for nations. We're praying,
we're praying for caregivers around the world. We're praying
it
for
baffles me.
Institutions.
Yes, because that says to me that he's a man of large heart, and he carries the burden, just like what we read in today's. He's carrying the burden. He stands in many gaps. I can remember there are situations and things that does not relate to the ministry or to the... He foresee a lot of things. And the large heart to pray, so compassionate. And so we're not surprised about what we see.
Certainly, we're still talking about the impact of this global icon, Reverend Dr. Chris Oyakhilome. And one of the things that we can't forget, down memory lane, is his impact in youth development. And one of the classical messages that he gave, some say that message, could not be distilled immediately. It was, beyond the times in which it was given, and that was the theory of nations. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, we'll be talking about the impact of the theory of nations a decade down the line.
Many people long for success. They desire to do something with their lives, to make a difference in society, to become famous, or to become great. We all have the want to move from ordinary to extraordinary, to make the leap from good to great, to turn the seed of greatness that is in us into a fruitful field, and to fulfill the call of God upon our lives. From Reverend Dr. Chris Oyakhilome comes this new and riveting book, The Power of Your Mind. Do you want to do something extraordinary with your life? See, God has given you an excellent tool to use in your journey of greatness. It is called your mind. Learn how to walk in divine excellence through the power of a renewed mind.
I find that all around the world there are too many people who don't understand the definition of nationhood. It is sad that all over Africa particularly, many have not understood the reason for being. Africa was always called the Dark Continent, not because of the color of the skin, but because of the poverty of the minds. But the time has come for us to make the difference, and we will. In developing the theory of nations, there are certain concepts that require mention and definition. All over the world, wherever the definitions of these concepts are nebulous, they are misused and usually leading to the sufferings of so many people. These concepts are nation, nationalism, state and ethnicity. To understand the development of nations, we must observe that man is a gregarious animal. Thus human beings naturally relate socially. And as you know, social relationships automatically define themselves in relation to strength and weakness, leadership and followership, because of the human tendency to protect or seek protection. And so, the weaker congregate around the stronger to be protected. And this feeling of security heightens the weaker's ability to function socially. And so, naturally, the stronger demands further submission and allegiance while defining the limits of freedom of the weaker of the species. Certain nations like Nigeria have completely flawed the popular definition of nation as a large body of people organized under independent government and sharing common customs, origins, history and language. Canada also, among others, cannot fall into this narrow definition. As you know, Nigeria has a multiplicity of languages, diverse customs and culture, and a wide range of divergent history for its many peoples who definitely don't have a common origin. Thus, by this definition, Nigeria will not qualify as a nation but state only. And there are many countries all around the world that can only be described as states. A state begins with the paraphernalia of government with a definite territorial jurisdiction. It is an institutional structure with territorial integrity. Thus, without a defined land space, a state cannot function, whereas a nation need not to be territorial in nature. As a matter of fact, the United Nations cannot be defined as it is called. It is more of an association of states.
All right, theory of nations, yeah, transcribed and reproduced, not with the original voice of the man of God, Pastor, but the message loud and clear, without any reason of a doubt. Dr. Lanre,
yes. Okay.
Pastor beyond the times. That message still relevant.
Very relevant with us.
Into the future, into the next decade, that message, and we see it playing out.
Definitely.
A definition of nations and a definition of a state.
States, yeah.
And pastors, drive and passion for youth development.
Yes, I really, observed something about our man of God, Pastor Chris. He's concerned, more from the grassroots. I'll call it from the tender. He's a man that, is looking at succession. He's a man that, if he has to, when he knows where he's going, and he knows that if we don't raise the coming ones, there will be a fade away. We will not be able to reproduce. Great minds, a lot of time in the historical background and story of Nigeria, we talk about great men and all that. But today, where are they? Those who will be passionate and those who will be inculcated with such ideas. Look at, right from the campus ministry, the man of God knowing that is the four wall of knowledge.
Christ Embassy has the largest campus ministry in the world.
Across the world. And, because if you could tame the mind, tailor their mind, and channel their mind, they will produce, they will be the next, these are the next government generators of Nigeria, of other nations.
And pastor's response to the youth is a direct reaction to the world targeting youths through technology, through
innovations,
through different skills,
development,
through propaganda. And this is really remarkable to see that, you know, he's seen this before it even happened. The crop of youths that are being raised now, when I talk to them, when I feel their thoughts, their pulse, they are definitely knowing, they know what they want to accomplish. They know what they want to do. They have a direction, and they can't be dissuaded.
Definitely. It's the impact, you know. Look at there's a program, the YLF.
GYLF.
GYLF.
Global Youth
Global Youth Leaders Forum. You know,
yeah.
that particular program brings mind together, and they are being impacted. They are being tailored. They know that, look, we all are various fair. They understand that the global world belongs to them, and they have to impact their world. And so you see them right from the greatest mind are given birth to. Politicians are brought up in those groups. Those who will come up to take over the nations with the mindset of giving directions. We're raising entrepreneurs. You know, I listen to some of them, and the kind of ideas that you will know that this is just beyond the books. Because they are limited with the books. What you come out, you read. But they are inspired by the things they hear. There's this ability that is released, and they are focused. Their understanding is enlightened. They come to know that, look, there's nothing. The man that is inventing, the inventors, they know that he doesn't have two heads than they are. It's all that for them to look inward. And so they are possessing. Those guys were waiting. They are waiting to see, because pastor is training, raising them across the nations. So I believe if this impact continues, it's a matter of time when this crop.
What do you see for the future of Africa considering this?
There's with what we're doing, with what I see the man of God doing, with the impact in the various, from the campus level to the tertiary. Even right now, they started at various levels of influence in terms of those who are the work environment. Do you understand? The marketplace. The impact is so evident, whereby we're raising leaders within these spheres.
Dr. Lanre, I'm amazed you haven't even mentioned one of our most one of the most potent tools of the ministry of the man of God, best-selling devotional.
Oh, I was going there.
That was, you see,
you see,
which has actually been a catalyst for the reach out campaigns all over the continent.
You could see that most of even the nations that have refused to allow the gospel to be preached, or there's no opening of doors, because of the impact of what this rhapsody is doing to the populace of the nations where those rhapsodies are getting in there. The understanding has come right now that most of them are transformed. The saying, you know, we're listening to a testimony of someone from which of the state now where, you know, I think Cuba.
Yeah, Cuba.
Cuba. You know, this is just a man that only came across and had an opportunity to have the rhapsody. And right there, he was able to discover himself. He was distressed, dejected, and has no future. Reading the rhapsody, he was able to come to himself, realize himself, come to know that there is hope for him. And he began to, his testimony was going through this on a daily basis. And today, he's one of the, you know, most influential personnel within that. He has impacted his nation by bringing up a lot of new technologies in the business areas where he's been featured. And there's an impact on that.
The ability to bring that devotional in the languages of the indigenous peoples is remarkable. We're talking about over 1,000 translations globally now.
Definitely.
That is,
you know,
1,800 to be exact. That is colossal.
It's quite, and you know what it takes. When you look at the magnitude of even just translating one language, and then here we're talking about 1,000, and then the impact of this, someone reading now the rhapsody in his or her language gets more clarity, gets more understanding, and has more, you know, it's being able to adopt this.
And you
to
wonder,
life.
you know, in spite of this, why people are opposed to the church. That means the church has to tell its stories now, because a lot of people, through propaganda, you know, are being
dissuaded from the
dissuaded
truth.
from the truth.
Yeah.
Being, you know, their eyes are being veiled from the truth. So if you can still call us while the time is available. Our time is far spent, I'm told, but anyway, maybe 1 or 2 calls can come in. But as we wind down, Dr. Lanre, the impact of the man of God in Africa cannot be overemphasized. The way that he has gone about it, with initiatives, non-governmental organizations like the trauma care, the inner city missions for children, the Future Africa Leaders for Children, it is plain to see that something is changing the narrative on the African scene.
Yes, you could see, you know, a man that so passionate to look at the deficiencies in different sectors of the nation, for example, the health sector, and looking at, you know, some of the challenges with our government and profiling solutions, you know, in terms of some of the initiatives that, you know, to come to look at how can we be part of the solution, rather than we joining them to say there are no facilities, there are no this, we don't have the expatriates, we don't have this, we don't have that. Here we're coming up. You know, when I listen to the trauma care, the projections and plans, and the recent launch that they had, it's really mind-blowing. And now most of the other agencies and other parastatals within the health sectors are part of this now. And I can imagine what this will do. There are a lot of people dying that don't need to die. It's just lack of just giving the right care. And just, it's sometimes as minute as just having the right equipment. And now we're going to have such in this nation, just as a result of a man that decided to have the vision to do this.
Pastor Lanre, I said Pastor Lanre, Dr. Lanre, our time is far spent, but I will let you, you know, I wish the man of God, Pastor Chris, a happy birthday.
I want to say a wonderful, glorious birthday to my man of God, Pastor Chris. Pastor, I'm one of those that I'm a product of your many words, and today I can thank you so much for all that I've received in life, in ministry, and in every aspect of what I do, my business world. And you have given our life a meaning, not just me, the family and their hope. And you know, your impact, your teachings, your love and your passion, you know, all these have made us to be who we are. And so, Pastor, I want to say thank you so much for this great privilege.
Well, I want to thank you, Dr. Lanre, for coming in on the agenda. We've been talking about the uncommon exploits of global icon, the man known as Pastor Chris, Reverend Dr. Chris Oyakhilome, a coat of many colors, if you like. And that's so much we can take on today's edition of The Agenda, a 4-part series that will go on next week, talking about the exploits of this man that goes beyond borders. And it's been a pleasure having you join us on this edition. Don't forget, you can log on to our website, www.loveworldplus.tv, or log on to channel 465 on Star Times. Well, this is where we'll leave the discussion. For now, our next edition, we're looking at another side of this colossus on the African scene, Africa's greatest export. And until we return on the show, my name is Henry Williams. And in the words of the man himself, Pastor Chris, only Africans can build Africa. God bless you. See you same time.